Good day. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how to improve your communication skills in job interviews using a three-step framework. Okay? The first thing you'd like to consider when it comes to your communication skills would be to structure your answers for clarity. Okay, so if you're just getting started with your communication skills and with preparing your job interview, the most basic thing you could do would be to structure your answers in the STAR format. Okay, situation and task, action and results. Okay, now the core reason why you'd want to do this would be also because if you communicate your answers in a structured format, they might score better for clarity. Okay, you will be more intelligible, but also more interestingly for some of you would be that people prefer familiar approaches. Okay, so your interviewer will expect you to structure your answers in the STAR format, right? So if people prefer this approach, then you will bias them towards you using the STAR format, right? Now, if you want to know how exceptional candidates communicate in a structured way for the purpose of a job interview, they simply create their own formats to answer this interview questions, right? So if you want, you could even communicate in the DAN format, right? The D from description, A from action, and N with some numbers in the results, right? So it's not as complicated as it may seem to bring in your own framework to answer interview questions in order to bring in a little bit more clarity, right? The second step you'd want to consider when it comes to significantly improving your communication skills for the purpose of job interviews, and not only goes far beyond this, would be to improve your listening skills. Exceptional communicators are also the best listeners, right? Now, if you think this is easy, it can take well over a year of coaching and of listening to people to really know what it means to be a great listener. But if I may give you some examples here of how do people perceive these listening skills and how well can people listen. For example, at Amazon, in job interviews, they screen people on their leadership principles. They're now 16, and they would ask questions which would link with each of those leadership principles. Now, it's not uncommon for people to prepare for months to pass job interviews with Amazon, and oftentimes people say, hey, yes, I'm really good at spotting the principles from the question gets asked. That's not the main thing. I have a great story bank and I'm going to pass my interview, right? And I build some quizzes into my training programs, especially to query, hey, which leadership principle is this question testing for, right? And most candidates who are considered experts with these things scored like 50 or 60% accuracy when it comes to spotting the principle from the question they get asked, right? So in other words, they were only half of the time right when it comes to why a question got asked during a job interview. Okay, so keep that in mind, because if you don't know why the question gets asked, chances are you will not give an optimal interview answer either. All right, so now how can you improve your listening skills without spending 1 year for these things? You have to be a little bit more intentional with these things. You know, you don't just have to listen for the question in full, by the way, but also to keep an eye on your interviewer. You know, during that exchange, you know, interviewing is a two-way street. So what happens here is that interviewers are also human beings. They also have biases. So, for example, if something goes wrong, if they're not happy with the way you're answering questions, and you keep an eye on them, chances are you will catch this early on in the process, and you could interrupt. You know, they don't want to interrupt you, but you will interrupt because you feel like it's in your interest and say, hey, am I going to the right direction? Were you looking for something else from my side, right? So simply by listening to your interviewer and keeping an eye contact with them will greatly improve your ability to listen during job interviews. Or let me give another quick test here. Have you ever stopped midway to your answer in a job interview and asked someone, hey, am I going into the right direction? Is this what you're looking for? Or have you ever ended an interview question in a job interview, is this what you were looking for? Or would you like me to talk about something else? Because in my experience, what candidates do was simply to deliver what they had pre-planned, with a bit of tunnel vision, and simply move on, right? So exhibiting listening skills is a hidden secret of the best communicators, right? It goes again far beyond job interviews. Okay, and the third thing I want to talk about here when it comes to significantly improving your communication skills in job interviews would be to build your confidence. So people who interview confidently are also far more likely to be perceived as better communicators, right? Now, how can you build your confidence going into a job interview? Well, to keep it brief here, so to speak, to keep it on the interviewing prep advice I give, the one thing you could do would be to set yourself small or achievable goals which you can complete. And completing those goals, such as, if you don't have a story bank, you could complete my training program, and that will give you a sense of fulfillment, right? When compared, to only going 15% through your story bank, you go to a training program in full 3-hour thing, right? And this, this goal setting approach will give you strength, right? And the other major thing you could do to build up confidence for job interviews would be to interview. Okay, so interviewing gives you strength, right? Interviewing, such as role playing for your upcoming job interview, can be of great help to maybe turn your negative thoughts into very positive ones, right? And simply getting supportive people around you can greatly help with building your confidence for job interviews, right? So if you don't want to role play, or if you don't want to spend money on coaching, or you simply don't have anyone to role play, you could also consider interviewing with less interesting companies, just in order to build your confidence in your interviewing skills, so to speak. So I hope you found this useful, and thank you very much for watching.